Well, it's dried overnight pretty well. I set it up. There's one spot in here. It looks like it rained on it. It wasn't completely dry, so it kind of bubbled it a little. But this is not that big a deal. All in all, it turned out just beautiful. You can see how clean and shiny this is. The axle itself turned out beautiful. I've got a couple little places here where I had a nick or something in it. I can touch that up. And the springs, they were out in the rain. You can see this rough looking surface on them. But it looks like this paint slides really good on itself. I had a few places here where it ran through. I just whittled it off and just tried to clean up these little dents and stuff with a razor blade. I don't really care too much about this. I'll just stack it all up here and hold it all back together. I'm going to clean up this front end now that I've got the spring out of it, and I'll paint it, and I'm going to put this all back together. I think it'll be just fine. I'm going to leave this broken spring here out. Might run it a little bit lower. It'll give me a little softer ride maybe. It wasn't flexing much whenever I had the motor and stuff in it, so I think I can probably do without one spring. And once I get this cleaned up, then I'll sand this places here where it rained on it, and I'll just paint it again when it's all together, so it should look pretty nice. We'll see what happens. It'll be our day's project. I got to playing around with some of this stuff here and tried sanding on these pieces, and looked like it was taking sandpaper pretty good, so I'm just taking a welding spatter wheel here and just cleaning up the stuff. Anyway, there's another spring done, and the paint seems to be holding real well on it. I just cleaned it up good here on the ends where it's going to show, and the stuff I thought was maybe water spots. It's not really water spots, it's just the pitting of the spring itself, but that makes it all nice and smooth, and the edges are good and shiny, and so these things will look real nice, and anywhere that's showing I'm going to take it down to a real smooth finish. So I finished this piece here, took it down to where it's nice and smooth all the way. That's the top spring, so that'll look good, and it's very smooth, and I'm sure they'll slide well, and most of the paint's on it left still. Is probably 90% of the paint still on it. So I just continue finishing up these springs, and that's it. My springs all cleaned up and ground off. Looked like I might have missed one here. No, I got that one too. And all of the rough stuff is off of them, so they ought to slide real well. I got my edges cleaned up, everything that's showing polished to bare metal. I'll do it on them. Over here I got a little grinding to do on this. I've got this front end part cleaned up pretty good. It's things like this, you gotta draw the line somewhere. So I try to make 2 or 3 places really good, and then just clean up the rest of it the best I can. Otherwise I'd be grinding this whole car down to nothing. And I don't have the time or the inclination to do that. So I'll just clean up this grind right in here a little bit more. Polish this. I think that paint will fill any of those little holes there. I was going to Bondo them, but I'm getting tired of working on this thing at this point. And brush it up with that paint while I got sunshine and see what happens. I took my rough grinder and pretty much ground it all off fairly smooth. Now I'll take my well spatter tool and clean the rest of this up. Yeah, that's about as good as we're going to get it with rough grinding tools. And I think this will all look just fine. I'll start to probably put a coat of paint on this real light and let that be drying while I try to assemble my spring, and I'll put this all together. I don't know what's in this paint, but it's seriously tough. It took me 30 minutes just to get the can open. So it looked like it bonded down in here really super well. That lid, I've been up the whole can getting it off. What I'm going to do about that, I guess I'll have to find another can and make sure I don't have any paint on it when I put the lid back on. The advertisement shows I'm pounding on it with a hammer and not chipping it. I believe it. Well, it went on beautifully. I can see the little dirt and stuff in it from the brush and this and that and the other thing, but basically it looks really good. Since this stuff is so tough, I can come back over it now with I don't know, 220 wet sandpaper and just clean up some of the dirt and stuff in it. I'm putting it on with a brush when I go to paint the frame seriously though. I'm going to use it in the gun. I'll get a cheap gun because if this stuff don't come out of the gun, it's going to be it for the gun. It ain't going nowhere after that. Well, I got it all back together and set on there and hit it with paint. Looks beautiful, just as glossy as you'd ever want. And this paint's really tough, so I got some dirt in it. I don't know if you can tell there, but it's really tough. It'd be really easy to sand this stuff. Over here on my axle, I found a few runs, drips. So I just took my grinder and cleaned this up a little. I'll hit it on the bottom here again with another coat and let that dry, then I'll do the top again tomorrow. Yeah, it looks like I got some runs right there that I need to take out. I'll just touch them with a grinder and then I'll repaint the bottom of this thing.